Today we jump back to continue jumping back to chapter 5. Okay, there's a topic type 1, 2, 3, and 4. Type 1, 2, 3, and 4. Filters, FIR filters. So when we say filter, we design a filter, right? And we want the filter to have a desired response, some kind of desired response. For example, our very first example, we spent a long time to talk about it. The first example is the low-pass filter. Ideal low-pass filter cannot be implemented, right? So therefore we need to window it. But the kind of method that we suggest to so far is 2 steps, right? First is to keep the middle part. Second is to shift to the right. And that gives you a type 1 filter, especially for low pass, particularly for low pass design. That gives you a type 1. So today we continue to talk about one is type 2. And the key idea is kind of strange. The key idea is to shift to the right indeed. Let's shift the ideal response key idea is to shift the ideal response by half a sample. It's fractional sample. Shifting everything to the left or to the right depends. It doesn't really matter. But shift the ideal response, which is the sync function for the case of low pass, shift it by 1/2 sample. And then continue your job. So it turns out that the result is a type 2 filter. Okay, and what exactly is shifting by 1/2 sample? We'll talk about it. And then type 3 and type 4, anti-symmetric filters. Okay, so that's for today. And for types 3 and 4 in particular, we are doing comparison for the case of not a low-pass filter but something new. And this new thing is called the differentiator. It's like the digital equivalent of implementing d something over dt, to differentiate the function, or to differentiate the waveform. In continuous time, the equivalent is just ddt, okay? Take the first derivative with respect to time. But in discrete time, what's the equivalent? What's the equivalent? Our suggestion, the hint is, because we know ddt is equivalent to j omega, multiplication by j omega in the frequency domain. And so, to discretize, so we are asking the same question: how can we just design a filter that has exactly this frequency response? That will do the job. And we will use either type 3 and type 4 filter to complete the job. And it turns out that one of them is better, and for a very interesting reason. So I'll keep that. We'll review. We'll talk about it. So that's probably for today. And next, there's one kind of leftover topic regarding filter design. So the question is, if we know how to design a low-pass filter, then how do we design a high-pass filter? Do we apply exactly the same method? I mean, calculate the ideal response and keep the middle part shifting to the right, or are there any kind of direct transformation from low pass to high pass? And the answer is yes. Okay? There are some ways to directly take a result of your low pass design and transform it into a high pass filter. Okay? Namely, one method is just to multiply by -1 to the n power. Okay? So that's one trick. We can talk about it. Consequently, if we know how to design low pass and high pass, then we can design a band pass, right? Just think about it. Designing a low pass and then designing a high pass, right? And then you multiply the two of them, then the result is a band pass, you know what I mean? Okay, so everything else follows. In MATLAB, therefore you have a function that you just need to specify the cutoff frequency for every band, and basically it utilizes the combination of low pass and high pass design and things like that. So you can do that. It's up to you. Okay? So therefore, this is kind of a leftover. I said this is a leftover topic. So you know, some kind of it's kind of a leftover topic that we should also take home. Okay? So that's pretty much for the topic. Before we jump into the next big topic, the next big topic will be optimal design of our filters, and it's completely a different methodology, very much different from window method. Okay, so here we don't talk about windows anymore. We just talk about formulating the task of designing a filter as an optimization problem, as actually an L infinity optimization problem. Okay. L infinity optimization. We want to minimize the maximum error. So that's not here. And there are ways of there's a different philosophy. Okay? So that's probably won't start until later. It didn't happen next week. Okay? Hopefully we get to this point by next week. And after that, then we'll we'll jump back to chapter 6 actually. From there, we will jump back to chapter 6. And that pretty much concludes all the focuses of this semester. We have chapter 5, 6, and 7. And that's the focus of our season. Any comments so far? Okay, so let's get back to where we were at last time. So we are mentioning, so last time, a bit of a review. Last time in the end, we talked about, we started with a property that if we have a time domain sequence that satisfies this even symmetric property, or even symmetry. If H of n has an even symmetry, then we know that its Fourier transform is going to be real. It's going to be real for every frequency, at every frequency. So this is the foundation of type 1 system, or type 1 responses, type 1 filters. So let's say, therefore, if this is an FIR, we'll shift everything to the right. So if H, so that gives us this shifting to the right by a few samples. So let's say we shift everything to the right by n samples. No, not n samples. How many samples? So if we have this relation, still there's a symmetry. Okay, it's minus n and n here, right? So this response is symmetric around time n divided by 2. Is that clear? Okay. So and if this relation holds and n is even, then this H of n we're not going to give the definition of 4 different types, okay? But here, let me assume that we are assuming that these filters are also causal. In other words, assuming that H of n is 0 for n for at negative time, okay, before time 0. In other words, causal. So under this assumption, and then if H has this symmetry this even symmetry around time m divided by 2. So in this case, n, if m is even, then Hn is called type 1. And here, same thing, even symmetry, but in this case, if we have an evenly symmetric H of n, but with an odd n. By even symmetry, I mean left to right, okay? Yeah. There's no minus sign, okay? So if this relation holds, but in this case, if m is odd, 奇数, odd, then we call it type 2. And the third type is when H has this anti-symmetric relation with itself, there's a minus sign, okay? Minus sign, n, minus n, and minus sign here. If we flip it left to the right and then the sign, the changes in the sign, if this happens, and if n is even, it's even, then this is type 3, the definition of type 3. And you probably have maybe able to guess what the definition of type 4 is. Type 4 is when this relation holds, but n is odd, then that's the definition of type 4. Pretty straightforward, just need to be careful about the definition. Okay, so it might help if you draw a kind of a picture showing an example of type 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let me just, let's go over this quickly. So type 1, for example, examples. Or maybe let me ask you, okay? So if we have an example of this, and everywhere else is 0, and we have 1 on top, okay? Can you tell me which type is this? Which type is it? 1, 2, 3, or 4? First of all, there's no minus sign, right? The symmetry is left to right, it's not anti-symmetric. So it's either type 1 or type 2. So is it type 1 or type 2? Type 1 or type 2? Type 1, okay. The reason is because here n equals to 2, okay? n equals to 2. So h of 0 equals to h of 2. h of 1 equals to h of 1. This is the center sample, okay? And now, so this is type 1. Now, the second example is type 2. So what would be an example of type 2? Very easy. This, simple enough, whereas everything else is 0. This will be a type 2. And the reason is because n equals to 1. Okay? And also quite straightforward. Let's draw an example of type 3. Okay? Type 3, what would be an example of type 3? Type 3, an example would be sort of like plus and minus. Anti-symmetric relation. Anti-symmetric relation with, so this would be a type 3. And type 4, okay? You can probably, by now, we can easily draw an example of type 4. An example of type 4 will be just like 1, 2, I'm just throwing a random example, okay? 3 and 4. Everything else is 0, okay? This would be a kind of an illustration of type 4. Any comments so far? Okay, so last time we talked about a consequence, an important consequence of the Fourier transform being real. If the Fourier transform is real, then the phase spectrum has only two angles, either 0 or pi, right? The phase is at every frequency could be either 0 or pi. Therefore, the first derivative of the phase spectrum is going to be 0. Okay, so this the consequence of Fourier transform being real is that the group delay is going to be 0. The group delay of any such time system, therefore, this group delay at every frequency is going to be 0. Okay, so from here, let me say that any type 1 filter basically would be a zero phase filter shifting to the right by n divided by 2. Let me say that again. Okay, for example, this is n equals to 2. Okay, and this is the consequence. This can be thought of as a consequence of shifting a zero phase system to the right in time by one sample. Is that clear? Can we agree on this? Because if we shift it back to the left by one sample, we satisfy that criterion, right? So this is something. This is a zero phase filter shifted to the right by n divided by 2 samples. Note that any type 1 filter is a zero phase filter. Zero phase is just a fancy name to refer to this kind of functions. Okay. Shifted to the right by so many samples. And here, n divided by 2 is still an integer. Can we agree on that? Because n is even, right? Okay? So therefore, it's fairly easy to conclude that, therefore, the group delay of this system, after shifting to the right by n divided by 2 samples, the group delay itself also becomes n divided by 2, the constant, which is the constant. Okay, and this is important. So we say that a type 1 system here, assuming that it's causal, then we know it has a very nice property that its group delay is going to be a constant for every frequency. Every frequency will experience the same group delay. And this is a nice feature. This will be a nice feature of your filter. And this is nice. This is pretty nice, a nice feature. A constant group delay at every frequency is a nice feature for an FIR filter. Why? This is like, sometimes we say if the group delay is a constant, that means, actually we have talked about it, that means there's no dispersion. There's no dispersion. There's no dispersion for of the frequency response. Every frequency is going to experience the same group delay. Therefore, if all the frequency components comes into the system at one moment, it comes out at the same moment. And that is good, because if you consider applying a filter to a piece of music, and your filter has dispersion, some frequency is going to come off earlier than other frequency, and that could be problematic. You know, let's say, for example, if you hit the drum, a piece of music, right, percussion, 打击乐, if you hit the drum, it's a wide band signal because it's short in time, so it's a wide band in frequency. But if you filter your signal by an FIR that has dispersion, then in the output of your filter, some frequencies are going to come off first. So the percussion is kind of dispersed, literally dispersed in time. So you just see a effect like that. The sound is going to be dispersed, it's going to spread in time. And that's not a good property. Okay? So therefore, it's important, it's good, this a constant group delay is a nice property of FIR, of this kind of FIR, for type 1. And surprisingly, actually, for type 2, 3, and 4, all of them have the same nice property. So that's why we need to talk about it. Okay? So it could be surprising or it could, actually not as a matter of fact. Okay? As a matter of fact, type 2, 3, and 4 also has this kind of property. All of them have the nice property. For all of them, the group delay as a function of frequency is going to be constant. Okay? And that constant still is n divided by 2. Now, n divided by 2. Okay? But the only thing to be aware of, the only detail, tiny detail, is that now for type 2, taking this as an example, for this filter, the group delay is going to be 1/2, half the sample. Okay? And for that filter, the group delay is 1. Okay? And for this filter plus the group delay is 1.5. Okay, so the group delay does not need to be an integer. Okay, it's totally fine. Alright? So any comment? Any question? Is everything clear here? So could I test your understanding? So why? Why is type 3 also a constant group delay system? Why does type 3 also have a constant group delay? If you discuss with your neighbor, okay? Discuss with your neighbor. Why is it, no, you don't have a question. Why is type 3? I claim that this filter also has a constant group delay. But we know that its phase spectrum is not real. It doesn't satisfy this criteria, right? The phase spectrum is not, I mean, its Fourier transform is not real. It's not real like in here, okay? It doesn't hold for type 3. So but it turns out that this system also has a constant group delay. Why? Why is it fixed? Why is it true? Any idea? Any comment? What kind of property happens in this frequency domain? So we have 3 students from South Asia. Are you from India or are the 3 of you from India? Okay, could you comment on this? Okay, people on my right. How many? Could you comment on that? People in the middle. Please, yeah, please. Yeah, there is a symmetry. But say again, you mentioned complex conjugate. In what sense? The roots. Yeah, certainly something to do with the symmetry, right? So the only definition, right? So what happens in the frequency domain when we have this symmetry, this anti-symmetry? Any suggestion? Okay, good point. There is a symmetry and you mentioned conjugate, right? What's conjugate? Okay, so really let's take one step back. Okay, so when we argue that type 1 has a constant group delay, we first argue that when it has exactly the symmetry around time 0. This is symmetry around time 0, right? When that happens, we have a purely real Fourier transform. But how about if we have exactly the symmetry around time 0 but anti-symmetry? So taking one step back, for type 3, so I'm going to argue that type 3 is something shifted to the right by n divided by 2. Okay? So type 3 would be something shifted to the right, also shifted to the right by n divided by 2 samples. And that thing has an anti-symmetry around time 0. And this thing here, has this property. H of minus n equals to minus of h of n. Okay? So type 3 is the result of this kind of system shifting to the right of n divided by 2. Can we agree on that? So, and because of this, so let me jump to the conclusion. Because of this last chance. So what's the property? What's the property of this is Fourier transform? If a system has this property in time, what property does it have in the frequency domain? Purely imaginary. Thank you. Okay. What's your name? Thank you. Nice name. Right. So that's a conclusion. Okay. So H is turned out that when we have anti-symmetry like this, in time domain, in the frequency domain, this is going to be purely imaginary. The real part, or should I say the real part, is 0. Okay? Therefore, the phase is either plus pi divided by 2 or minus pi divided by 2. And still we reach the same conclusion, group delay is 0. Therefore, when we finally shift it to the right, by n divided by 2, the group delay becomes constant n divided by 2. Okay, so that's the way we can argue. Type 3 also has this property. For type 2 and type 4, you can work it out. Okay, I encourage you to work it out. But so that's an introduction definition of type 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so let me switch to my PowerPoint. Okay, so now next thing I want to talk about an example of using type 3 and type 4. So please take a final look at the definition, example of type 3 and type 4. Anti-symmetric depending on m, even, or odd. We have type 3 and type 4. Shoot, I forgot my... sorry, I left my laptop in my office. Left my laptop in my office. Yeah, could you grab my laptop? Okay, so while TA is away, let me just set up the scenario a little bit. Okay, so next, okay, no problem. Let's talk about our next topic, that is to design a differentiator. Okay, our next topic, differentiator. So this is important. So like for, let's say you want to simulate an analog system in a digital domain. It could happen in like digital control, right? Want to simulate some kind of analog system in the digital domain. The chances are you might need to implement a continuous time differential equation where you have d and d over dt. For example, you want to simulate a system like this with a spring constant k, mass n, and damping of R. Okay, so we have M x double dot plus R x dot plus Kx equal to an external forcing function, for example. Okay, so we want to simulate this system. Then one idea is that let's pretend that we know nothing about solving the equation directly. Okay, so the idea is that d dt, dx dt, the definition of the first derivative is limit, right? This one we go back to the very basic. When delta t approaches 0, and we calculate the ratio of change, the rate of change. Divided by that short period of time. Okay? So we said that if the limit exists, then when delta t is sufficiently small, we can approximate the first derivative for sure. Okay? So quickly to the digital domain. So we might argue that, okay, then the differentiator is like taking the rate of change, calculating the rate of change, right? Calculate rate of change. Now we know that in discrete time, now we have samples. Things are sampled. A waveform is sampled, right? So a reasonable attempt to approximate differentiation is that we will also calculate the rate of change in discrete time. Okay? So let's say if this is t, this is 2t, the third sample occurs at times 3t, and so on. Then we can suggest, here is my proposal. Okay, my proposal that a simple way to think about differentiation is that, let's say this y of n. I'm going to define y of n as x of n minus x of n minus 1 divided by the sampling period. Okay, does that make sense? So we agree that this might be an okay approximation to differentiation as long as t is short enough. Okay, and we are given this signal x and a signal x of t, and we sample it so it becomes discrete time, and we want to approximately calculate its velocity basically if x is displaced and the y is velocity, right? So we will say maybe the velocity can be approximated as you just subtract the previous sample from the present sample and then divide the result by t. That's the rate of change. Is that clear enough? The 周线斜率 versus 垂线斜率 okay? So this is, does that make sense? This might be a good approximation of differentiation. Okay? So that's the idea, the differentiator. If you think purely in the time domain and based on the very definition of first derivative, then we can come up with this proposal. Let's approximate the action of differentiation by this approximation, or by this relation. Okay? So therefore, equivalently, if we can agree that this is an okay approximation, then what's the impulse response of this system? The impulse response of this system turns out to be a type 4 system. Why? Because we have plus 1 divided by t and minus 1 divided by t at time 0 and time 1 respectively. I hope I get this correct. And everything else is 0. So this, if we define this as our impulse response, then equivalently, I need to use here, y of n is this h of n convolved with x of n, according to our definition, and this h of n is a type 4. Can we agree on this? So this is an example. Okay, so by just any areas, okay so far? Am I jumping too fast? Okay, I hope this is okay. No, okay, thank you. All right, so here we come up, we start this from the very basic observation that this is what differentiation ought to be, okay? Because differentiation is the rate of change. And based on the definition rate of change, 变化率, the rate of change. Based on the definition rate of change, we can come up with a proposal. Here's the proposal. I claim that this might be a good idea. This just approximate continuous time differentiation by this rate of change in discrete time. And then consequently or equivalently, if we define the relation between input and output displacement versus velocity. Velocity is the rate of change of displacement. Then equivalently, what I'm going to do is to convolve our input, the displacement, with this impulse response. Right? And this impulse response is type 4 according to our definition. Okay? So that's kind of set you up what differentiation is about. But then, sure, h of n has only 2 samples. Therefore, h in the frequency domain is continuous. In the frequency domain, we have, by definition, is going to be n is sum n from 0 to 1, h of n, e to the minus j omega n, right? The definition of DTFT, let's apply the definition of DTFT and see what happens in the frequency domain, okay? And it's going to be what? So there is a factor of 1 divided by t, and h0 is e to the what? E to the actually minus j omega 0, okay? And plus minus 1 e to the minus j omega 1, right? So that's the frequency response. That's the frequency response we're going to have. And here, we further pull out e to the minus j omega divided by 2. Let's do this. Okay, let's pull out this factor, e to the minus j, and there's a reason why I do this. 1 over t still here. Now we have e to the plus j omega divided by 2 minus e to the j omega divided by 2 minus j. All right? Okay? So we further continue. Okay, is everything okay so far? We still have this phase term, linear phase term, divided by 1 divided by t. And here, what is this? This is 2j sine omega divided by 2, right? So this is our frequency response. Or I should say there is a phase factor times j times this 1 over t and 2 sine omega divided by 2. Okay? So therefore, the magnitude response is what? 1 divided by t, 2 times sine omega divided by 2. And the phase response is this part. The phase response is minus omega divided by 2 plus pi divided by 2. That's our phase. Any questions so far? And from here, we can further reach the conclusion. Indeed, in this particular example, tau, the group delay is a constant, and that is 1 over 2. This is an example of the type 4 filter for sure. So any comments so far? Can we agree on this? The phase response, we have the phase response, the group delay, and the magnitude response. But here, the magnitude response, note that when we start with a simple observation and we want the result of our design to have a differentiator need to apply 6 dB per octave of gain. That's what the differentiator is about. 6 dB per octave. That means that the frequency response, originally a differentiator ddt. Note that ddt is equivalent to j big omega in the frequency domain, right? So in an actual differentiator, the gain is proportional to the frequency. It's linearly proportional to the frequency. Can we agree on this? And this is 6 dB per octave of gain. This is 6 dB per octave plus 6 dB per octave of gain, of enhancement of high frequency. That's why when you take the derivative, the velocity difference displacement, the high frequency part is enhanced if you haven't thought about it. You consider velocity versus displacement. Velocity has a 6 dB per octave enhancement for high frequency. Octave 就是频率2倍 ，OK。The octave means that when we double the frequency, we also double the gain. Okay, 6 dB per octave. This is kind of the terminology. People often say that 6 dB per octave is rolling off or enhancement. Okay. All right, so that's in the continuous time. Okay, for the analog system, a differentiation enhances the high frequency by 6 dB per octave. But here, the gain here is not exactly proportional to the frequency small omega. It's proportional to sine omega divided by 2, which is not exactly omega. Okay, so let's now compare the ideal. So now we are at the point to compare the ideal response and the result of our design. Okay, the ideal response. So here, let's say, ideally we want our response, say ideal H desired. DS stands for desired. Okay, the desired response should be j omega. And let's say from minus pi to pi, okay? For the entire range of frequency, we want the ideal response to be j omega. Actually, maybe I should say there's a factor of 1 divided by t. Okay, this is not that important, but just keep in mind that the result of differentiation should have the unit of 1 divided by t. This is generally we're taking the derivative with respect to time. Okay, so actually the result of differentiation should have at least have the unit of inverse of time. Okay, 1 divided by t. Okay, but let's not worry too much about this factor. So that's the desired response. But it turns out that our response here, the result of our design has, let me just still write everything down, okay? So the result of our design is e to the j divided by omega divided by 2 times 1 over t is still actually there for sure, but here the factor after j 2 sine omega divided by 2. 2 sine omega divided by 2 versus the ideal situation we want this factor to be exactly omega. Okay? So that shows the difference between the magnitude response of our design and the desired response. The desired magnitude response is basically omega, j and omega. But the result of our design, the magnitude response is 2 times the factor here, the corresponding factor here is 2 sine omega divided by 2. Fortunately, for small omega, they are roughly the same. You notice that when omega approaches 0, they are roughly the same. So to summarize, this is the result of our design, okay? And the ideal situation is this. The ideal design is a straight line from 0 to pi. That's the ideal. And there's a difference, okay? There's a difference. There's a difference. Our design, of course, deviates from the ideal because we approximate the limit by the change of ratio in finite time. Okay, any comment here? Any comment here?